The day my sister stole my wedding fund was also the day I stopped believing in fairy tales. I remember standing in the bank, staring at the zero balance on the screen while the teller avoided eye contact. My hands trembled as I gripped my phone, calling Maria for the 20th time that morning. I'm Samara, and this is the story of how my baby sister taught me that karma works in mysterious ways. I'm so sorry, the teller whispered, her voice barely audible over the ambient noise of the bank. The withdrawal was made yesterday afternoon. We have it on camera if you'd like to file a police report. That won't be necessary, I managed to say. I know exactly who did this. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria. I'm sorry, I needed it more than you did. You can always have another wedding. I nearly dropped my phone. The casual cruelty of those words made my stomach turn. 6 years of savings. Gone. My fiancé Jake and I had been planning our dream wedding for months. Everything was booked. The venue, the caterers, the band. All our deposits would be forfeit. Samara! Avery's voice cut through my spiral. My best friend stood beside me, concern etched across her face. What's happening? She took it all, I whispered. Maria cleaned out the account. What? How did she even have access? Remember when I made her my maid of honor? I added her to the account so she could help with the wedding payments. I laughed bitterly. Stupid, trusting me. Avery pulled me into a tight hug. We need to call the police. And what, have my sister arrested? Mum would never forgive me. My phone rang. Jake's name flashed on the screen. My heart sank. I had to tell him. Hey, beautiful, he said. Just checking in about the final venue payment. Jake, my voice cracked. We need to talk. The conversation that followed was the hardest of my life. Jake listened in silence as I explained what happened. When I finished, the pause that followed felt eternal. So, your sister stole our wedding fund, he said flatly, and you're not going to press charges. I can't do that to my family. Your family, his voice rose. What about our family, the one we were supposed to start? We can postpone, save up again. No, Samara, we can't. The finality in his voice made my blood run cold. This isn't just about the money. This is about you choosing your sister over us. Again. That's not fair. Isn't it? Remember when she borrowed my car and totaled it? Or when she ruined our anniversary dinner because of her latest crisis? You always defend her and I'm done. The line went dead. Avery guided me to a nearby bench as my legs gave out. He's right, I whispered. I've always made excuses for her. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Maria. Boarding my flight now. Don't worry, I'll bring you something nice from Bali. Something snapped inside me. I blocked her number, then opened my social media apps and blocked her there too. Avery watched in silence as I systematically erased my sister from my digital life. What are you going to do now? She asked softly. I stood up, straightening my shoulders. First, I'm going to call everyone and cancel this wedding. Then, I'm going to throw myself into work until I've built something so successful that Maria will spend the rest of her life regretting what she did today. Samara. No, I cut her off. Don't tell me revenge isn't healthy. Don't tell me I should forgive and forget. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by half-packed wedding decorations. My phone was full of sympathetic messages from guests and angry demands from vendors. I ignored them all and opened my laptop instead. I had been playing with a business idea for months, a consulting firm specializing in financial security and fraud prevention. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had the skills, the connections, and now I had the motivation. As I worked late into the night, drafting business plans and reaching out to potential partners, I made myself a promise. Success wouldn't just be my revenge, it would be my shield. Never again would I let anyone, especially family, take advantage of my trust. Little did I know then that karma had plans of its own, and that 3 years later, Maria would come crawling back, giving me the perfect opportunity to teach her exactly what betrayal feels like. 3 years can change everything. I sat in my corner office watching the city bustle 20 floors below, when Yusuf knocked on my door with our quarterly reports. "Another record-breaking quarter," he said, dropping the folder on my desk. "Who knew your spite-fueled business venture would turn into this?" I smiled, running my fingers over our company logo, Shield Securities Consulting. Spite is an excellent motivator. "Speaking of motivation," Yusuf leaned against my desk, "have you heard from her?" "Radio silence since Bali." I picked up the report, scanning the numbers. "Last I heard through the grapevine, she was island hopping in Southeast Asia." "On your wedding fund." "Ex-wedding fund," I corrected him. "And it's the best investment I never made. Look at these numbers." We'd grown from a 2-person operation in my apartment to a firm of 50 employees. Our specialty? Helping companies and individuals protect themselves from financial fraud. The universe really does have a sense of humour. My phone buzzed. Avery's name flashed on the screen. "You need to check Instagram," she said without preamble. "Right now." I pulled up the app, and there it was, my first glimpse of Maria in 3 years. The photo showed her in a dingy apartment, a far cry from her usual glamorous posts. The caption read, "Time to come home and face the music. Life comes at you fast." "Well, well," I murmured. "Looks like paradise lost its shine." "Samara," Avery's voice held a warning. "Whatever you're thinking." "I'm not thinking anything." I was already scrolling through Maria's recent posts, watching her carefully curated life crumble in reverse chronological order. "I'm just observing." "You're plotting. I know that tone." Yusuf raised an eyebrow at me. I put the phone on speaker. "The last time you used that tone," Avery continued, "you turned a failed wedding into a 7-figure business." "Which proves I channel my emotions productively," I countered. A knock interrupted us. My assistant Rachel poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but your 2 o'clock is here. It's the startup wanting consultation on their security protocols." "Thanks, Rachel. Give me 2 minutes." After ending the call with Avery, I stood to straighten my blazer. Yusuf hadn't moved. "You know she's going to show up here," he said quietly. "Let her." I checked my reflection in the window. I'm not the same person she left behind. The meeting went smoothly, but my mind kept drifting to Maria's post. That evening, I stayed late reviewing old emails and bank statements from 3 years ago. The wedding vendor's angry messages, the venue's cancellation fee, Jake's last email returning my engagement ring. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Hey sis, heard you're doing well. Can we talk?" My heart raced, but my hands were steady as I typed, "Shield Securities Consulting. Tomorrow 9 a.m. Don't be late." I called Yusuf immediately. "Clear my morning meetings tomorrow," I said when he answered. "Maria's coming in." "Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely. Have Rachel show her to the conference room when she arrives. Let her wait." "Samara," he paused. "Just remember, revenge doesn't always taste as sweet as we imagine." "This isn't about revenge," I lied. "It's about closure." That night, I barely slept. I stood in front of my closet at 6 a.m., deliberately choosing my sharpest suit, black, tailored, intimidating, my armor. When I walked into the office the next morning, Rachel was already at her desk. "Your sister arrived 15 minutes ago," she whispered. "She seems nervous." "Good." I checked my watch. "Give me 5 more minutes, then send in coffee, the expensive kind." I used those minutes to steady my breathing, arrange my papers, perfect my pose. When the door finally opened, I didn't look up immediately. Let her take in the office, the view, the success she'd inadvertently helped create. "Hello, Maria," I said finally, raising my eyes to meet hers. The woman standing before me was a ghost of the sister I remembered. Gone were the designer clothes and confident smile. Instead, she wore a wrinkled blouse and carried a knockoff handbag. "Samara," she whispered, "you look amazing." 3 years is a long time. I gestured to the chair across from me. "Have a seat. Tell me what brings you to my office." As she sat down, I noticed her hands trembling. Good. Let her be nervous. Let her feel small. This was my territory now, and we both knew it. "I need your help," she said quietly. I leaned back in my chair. allowing myself a small smile. Well, isn't that interesting? I messed up, Maria said, staring into her untouched coffee. Really messed up. Did you run out of wedding funds to steal? The words came out sharper than I intended. Or maybe exactly as sharp as I intended. She flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot of things, Maria. But let's skip the part where you try to make me feel guilty. Tell me why you're here. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking as she pulled up her banking app. She slid it across the table to me. The negative balance made me whistle. Impressive, I said. How does someone rack up that much debt? It started in Bali, she whispered. Everything was so cheap, I thought the money would last forever. Then I met some people who said they could help me triple it through investments. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You fell for an investment scam? You stole my wedding fund to fall for a scam? It wasn't just that, Maria's voice cracked. I kept trying to fix it. Credit cards, loans, borrowed money from friends. Then I met this guy. Stop. I held up my hand. Let me guess. He seemed wealthy, promised to help, then disappeared with whatever you had left? Tears rolled down her cheeks. How did you know? It's literally what our company specializes in. Financial fraud and security consulting. Ironic, isn't it? Rachel knocked and entered with more coffee. I used the interruption to study my sister. The designer clothes she wore were obviously fake now that I looked closer. Her once perfect manicure was chipped, her hair dull. The banks are threatening legal action, Maria continued after Rachel left. And some of the people I borrowed from, they're not exactly legitimate lenders. Loan sharks? I leaned forward. Are you in danger? She nodded, unable to meet my eyes. Why not ask your investment friends for help? I couldn't resist the dig. Or maybe that guy who disappeared with your money. Samara, please, she whispered. I know I don't deserve your help, but I don't know what else to do. My phone buzzed. A text from Youssef. Remember, karma works both ways. I stood up and walked to the window, letting Maria stew in silence. 3 years ago, I'd stood in a bank watching my dreams crumble. Now, my sister sat in my office, watching her life fall apart. How much do you need? I asked finally. 80,000, she said quietly. I can pay you back. With what? I turned to face her. Your extensive investment portfolio? Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I'll do anything. Please, Samara. I'm scared. The rational part of my brain screamed to throw her out. But another part, the part that remembered sharing a bedroom and secrets and dreams, wouldn't let me. I have a proposition, I said, sitting back down. Our company needs someone to handle basic administrative tasks. Filing, coffee runs, data entry. It pays enough to cover a small apartment and living expenses. Hope flickered in her eyes. You'd give me a job? Not give. Offer. With conditions. I pulled out a contract I'd had legal draw up that morning. You'll work directly under my supervision. Every penny you earn goes toward paying back your debts. I'll handle the negotiations with your creditors. You'll take financial literacy courses. And you'll sign this contract agreeing to complete transparency about your finances. That's actually more than I deserve. Oh, I'm not done. I leaned forward. You'll start at the very bottom. No special treatment because you're my sister. In fact, being my sister makes this harder. One mistake, one lie, one hint of dishonesty, and you're out. And Maria? I waited until she met my eyes. If you betray my trust again, I won't just fire you. I'll press charges for the wedding fund theft. The statute of limitations hasn't expired. She paled. You wouldn't. Try me. I slid the contract toward her. Your choice. Take the deal or walk away. But if you take it, understand this isn't me forgiving you. This is me giving you one chance to prove you can change. Maria's hands trembled as she reached for the contract. When would I start? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Rachel will show you your desk. I stood up. Don't make me regret this. As she left my office, Youssef appeared in the doorway. That was either very generous or very cruel, he said. I'm not sure which. I watched Maria's retreating figure through the glass walls. Why not both? What's your real plan here, Samara? I smiled, remembering every sleepless night after she stole my future. To teach her exactly what it feels like to have everything controlled by someone else. Maria showed up at 8:15 a.m. her first day. I watched from my office as Rachel pointed to the small desk in the corner, barely containing my smile as Maria's face fell. "You're late," I said, walking over. "That's 15 minutes of pay deducted." "The bus was not my problem. Wake up earlier." I handed her a stack of files. "These need to be digitized by lunch. Rachel will show you the system." "This will take hours," Maria protested. "Then I suggest you start now instead of complaining." Avery dropped by around 11, taking in the scene of Maria hunched over her desk, frantically typing. "Wow," she whispered, following me into my office. "You're really doing this." "Doing what?" I asked innocently. "Providing employment opportunities?" "This is cruel, Sam." "Cruel?" I gestured toward Maria. "I'm paying her wages, negotiating with her creditors, giving her a chance to rebuild her life. How is that cruel?" "Because you're enjoying it too much." Avery's eyes narrowed. I saw that smile when she got the desk assignment. "The same desk I started at," I pointed out. "I worked my way up. So can she." "If that's really your goal." Before I could respond, Rachel buzzed my intercom. "Your 11:30 is here. The fraud prevention seminar?" "Perfect timing." I grabbed my presentation materials. "Want to watch me teach people how to avoid getting scammed out of their life savings?" "You're impossible," Avery sighed, but followed me out. As we passed Maria's desk, I paused. "Those files better be done when I get back." The seminar went well, but I rushed back to the office, not wanting to miss whatever drama might unfold at lunch. I wasn't disappointed. "What do you mean I can't access my paycheck directly?" Maria stood at Rachel's desk, voice rising. "It's my money." "Your contract clearly states all payments go through Ms. Evans first," Rachel replied calmly, "for debt repayment allocation." "I need lunch money." I cleared my throat. Both women turned. "There's a meal allowance card on your desk," I said. $20 per day. Receipts required." $20? Maria's face reddened. "In this city. There's a perfectly good sandwich shop downstairs. Or you could pack lunch like most of our employees do." I turned to Rachel. "How's the file digitization coming along?" "About halfway done," Rachel reported. "Halfway?" I raised an eyebrow at Maria. "I thought you said you'd be finished by lunch." "I'm trying," Maria's voice cracked. "The system keeps—" "Excuses don't pay debts." I cut her off. "Stay late and finish them." Later that afternoon, Youssef cornered me in the break room. "Your sister's crying in the bathroom," he said quietly. "Is she?" "How unfortunate." "Samara." He blocked my exit. "What happened to the woman who built this company to help people avoid financial fraud?" "She's helping. Tough love is still love." "Is it love, though?" he challenged. "Or is it payback?" I pushed past him. "Why can't it be both?" By 7 p.m., Maria finally finished the files. She looked exhausted, makeup smeared, hair a mess. "Can I go now?" she asked quietly. "One more thing." I handed her a folder. "Your new apartment lease. It's a studio 20 minutes from here by bus. Rent will be automatically deducted from your wages. You can move in tomorrow." She opened the folder, eyes widening. "This is in the worst part of town. It's what you can afford on your salary while paying back debts. Unless you'd prefer to stay with your loan shark friends." She clutched the folder to her chest, lower lip trembling. "Thank you for helping me." "Don't thank me yet." I turned back to my computer. "Tomorrow we start your financial literacy training, 7 a.m. sharp." After she left, I pulled up the security cameras, watching her wait at the bus stop in the growing dark. My phone buzzed with a text from Avery. "How's the revenge going?" I typed back. "It's not revenge, it's education." But as I watched Maria's dejected figure through the cameras, I felt something unexpected, a twinge of guilt. I pushed it aside, remembering instead the day I stood in that bank, watching my own dreams disappear. "Karma's a bitter pill," I muttered, gathering my things to leave. But some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Still, as I drove home in my luxury car, passing Maria's bus stop, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe Youssef and Avery were right. Maybe I was enjoying this a little too much. But then again, Hadn't I earned that right? 2 weeks into Maria's rehabilitation program, as I'd started calling it, I caught her crying in the supply closet during lunch break. "Your financial literacy homework is due in an hour," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "This seems like an unproductive use of time." "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, wiping her eyes with a paper towel. "The apartment has roaches. The work is endless. Everyone here hates me." "They don't hate you. They just know what you did to get here." Her head snapped up. "You told them. I believe in transparency." I shrugged. "Besides, it's a financial security firm. What better cautionary tale than the boss's sister who stole wedding funds?" "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" Her voice turned bitter. "Making me suffer." "Suffering?" I laughed. "You mean working a regular job? Living within your means? Welcome to real life, Maria. The one you avoided by stealing my future." A knock interrupted us. Rachel stood there looking uncomfortable. "Sorry, but there's an issue with the coffee supplier's invoice. Maria was supposed to reconcile it this morning." "I'll handle it," I said. "Maria needs to finish her homework anyway." Chapter 3. Understanding Compound Interest and Long-Term Debt. Later that afternoon, I overheard Maria talking to Emery, her old friend who'd recently started following her Instagram again. "It's horrible," Maria whispered into her phone. "She's turned everyone against me. I have to account for every penny I spend. Yesterday she made me return a $5 coffee because it wasn't from the approved vendor list." I cleared my throat loudly. Maria jumped, nearly dropping her phone. "Personal calls are for break time only," I reminded her. "And since you mentioned that coffee incident, you can stay late today to review our vendor compliance protocols." That evening, as Maria trudged through the vendor documentation, Youssef stopped by my office. "The quarterly numbers are in," he said. "We're up 30%. "Excellent." I glanced at Maria through the glass walls. "See? My management style works." "About that?" He sat down. "The team has concerns about the environment here lately. The constant tension, the public humiliation." "Public humiliation?" "I'm teaching her accountability." "By making her present her weekly budget to the entire office? By posting her debt repayment schedule in the break room?" "It's motivational," I defended, "for everyone." "Is it?" He leaned forward. "Because what I see is you turning into exactly what you hate. Someone who abuses their power over others." His words hit harder than I expected. Before I could respond, a commotion erupted outside. Maria stood at her desk, face red, while Rachel held up a receipt. "This lunch receipt is for $23, Rachel was saying. "Your daily allowance is $20. "It was a business lunch," Maria protested. "I was eating with the IT team." "The IT team says you invited yourself to their table," Rachel countered. "That's not a business lunch." I walked out to intervene, but Maria was already gathering her things. "I quit," she announced. "I'd rather deal with loan sharks than this psychological torture." "Sit down," I said quietly. "No, you're not my boss, you're my sister. Or you used to be before you turned into this monster." The office fell silent. Every eye was on us. "If you walk out that door," I said, keeping my voice level, "our deal is void. All of it. The debt negotiations, the apartment, the protection from your creditors. Everything." She hesitated, hand on her bag. "And," I continued, "I'll press charges for the wedding fund theft. Is that what you want? To add jail time to your problems?" The fight drained from her face. Slowly, she sank back into her chair. "That's what I thought." I turned to address the silent office. "Show's over, back to work." As I walked back to my office, I caught sight of my reflection in the glass walls. For a moment, I didn't recognize myself. The cold eyes, the satisfied smirk, the aura of control. Youssef appeared in my doorway again. That was quite a show. She needed to be reminded of her place. "Her place?" He shook his head. "Listen to yourself, Samara. You're starting to sound like what? Like someone who's forgotten the difference between justice and cruelty." I watched Maria through the glass, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs as she reviewed vendor protocols. Maybe there isn't a difference, I said quietly. But as I sat down to work, a small voice in my head whispered that maybe, just maybe, I was becoming the very thing I'd sworn to destroy. Someone who took pleasure in others' pain. A month into Maria's employment, something changed. I noticed it first in the small things. She started arriving 15 minutes early instead of barely on time. The filing was done without complaints. Even her financial literacy homework showed actual effort. "Look at this," Rachel said one morning, handing me Maria's latest budget report. She found a way to cut her living expenses by another 12%. I studied the carefully organized spreadsheet. She could have fudged the numbers. I checked. She's been bringing lunch from home, taking extra bus routes to save on fare, even started a small side gig doing online surveys during her off hours. Before I could respond, Maria appeared with our morning coffee run. "I got your usual," she said quietly, placing my cup on my desk, "and I kept the receipt under the daily allowance by using my rewards points." I stared at her, searching for the catch. "Since when do you have rewards points?" "Since I downloaded all the local coffee shop apps and calculated which ones offer the best return on investment," she shifted uncomfortably. That chapter on maximizing minimal resources actually helped. Later that day, I overheard her talking to another junior employee in the break room. "The trick is to shop at night," Maria was saying. "That's when they mark down the fresh produce. I can get 3 days' worth of lunches for under $10 if I time it right." "That's actually pretty smart," the employee replied. "Any other tips?" I lingered by the door, listening as Maria shared her newfound budgeting wisdom. Her voice held none of its usual bitterness or resentment. Youssef found me there, eavesdropping. "Interesting development," he murmured. "Your sister seems to be taking this seriously." "Or she's playing me," I countered. "She's good at that." "Is she? Or is that just what you need to believe to justify your treatment of her?" Before I could answer, Maria's voice carried from the break room. "The hardest part was admitting I had a problem with money. I used to think I was entitled to a certain lifestyle, you know, but hitting rock bottom, it changes you." Something in her tone made my chest tight. I walked away before I could hear more. That afternoon, I called Maria into my office for her weekly review. She came prepared with color-coded reports and detailed analyses of her progress. "I've calculated that at my current rate of savings and debt repayment, I can be debt-free in 3 years instead of 5, she said, pointing to a graph, "assuming I maintain my current lifestyle adjustments and continue the side gigs." 3 years is a long time to live like this, I tested. Longer than 3 years of luxury paid for with stolen money. She met my eyes. "I deserve this, Samara. I know that now." For the first time since she'd returned, I saw genuine remorse in her expression. "Why the sudden change?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment. "Last week I saw a bride outside that venue, the one you were supposed to use. She looked so happy and I just..." She wiped a tear. "I finally understood what I took from you. Not just money, but dreams, trust, family." "Maria." "No, let me finish." She straightened her shoulders. "I was selfish and entitled and cruel. I told myself you could just have another wedding, like your happiness was less important than my adventures. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Not because you're making me say it, but because I truly am." I sat back, studying her face for any sign of manipulation. Found none. "That's a start," I managed. "I know it doesn't fix anything," she continued, "but I want you to know that even if you never forgive me, these lessons you're teaching me, they're changing my life. I'm actually proud of myself for the first time in, well, maybe ever." The sincerity in her voice cracked something in my carefully constructed wall of resentment. I turned to look out the window, buying time to compose myself. "Your numbers look good," I said finally. "Keep this up, and we might discuss reducing your debt payments by 5%. Give you a little breathing room." Her face lit up. "Really?" "Don't make me regret it." After she left, I sat alone in my office, thinking about her words. Avery's voice echoed in my head. "Revenge doesn't heal wounds, it just makes new ones." My phone buzzed with a text from Youssef. Saw your sister's progress report. Maybe it's time to ease up. I typed back. Maybe, but something feels off. Too perfect. Because that's the thing about trust. Once it's broken, even genuine change looks suspicious. And I couldn't shake the feeling that this transformation was either too good to be true or, worse yet, exactly what I'd wanted all along. My suspicions about Maria's perfect transformation exploded one Tuesday morning when Rachel burst into my office, face pale. There's a discrepancy in the accounts, she said, dropping a folder on my desk. Small amounts, but consistent, going back 6 weeks. My stomach dropped as I reviewed the numbers. Someone had been skimming from petty cash, disguising it as office supply purchases. Who has access to these accounts? I asked, already knowing the answer. Only 3 people, me, you, and… Rachel trailed off. Maria! My voice was ice. Get her in here. Now. Minutes later, Maria sat across from me, looking confused. What's wrong? I slid the folder across the desk. Want to explain this? She flipped through the pages, her confusion turning to horror. This isn't… I didn't… Don't. I stood up, hands flat on my desk. Don't you dare lie to me, not again. Samara, please, I swear. 6 weeks of theft. I slammed my hand down. Right when you started acting perfect, right when you had me almost believing you'd changed. Youssef appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Our resident reformed thief has been stealing from petty cash, I spat, all while playing the role of perfect employee. That's impossible, Youssef said. I've been monitoring her access. Check the security footage, I cut him off. Rachel, call the police. No, Maria jumped up. Samara, please listen. I didn't do this. I wouldn't risk everything, not when I'm finally… Finally what? Finally earning my trust back so you could steal again. I laughed bitterly. You know what hurts the most? I actually started to believe you'd changed. Youssef stepped forward. Let me check the footage before we call anyone. Fine. I pointed at Maria. Don't move. 20 minutes later, Youssef returned with his laptop. You need to see this. He played security footage from last week. It showed the office after hours. But instead of Maria at the petty cash drawer, it was Emery, Maria's old friend. She had access because she was helping with the charity event setup, Youssef explained. And Maria's login credentials were still active on the computer she used that day. I turned to Maria, who had tears streaming down her face. You knew about this? No. She wiped her eyes. But I remember leaving my computer unlocked that day when Emery asked to check her email. I thought she was just being friendly, starting to forgive me. Phone records, Youssef added, pulling up another screen. Emery's been contacting Maria's old creditors. Looks like she was trying to sabotage the repayment plans. Some friend, Rachel muttered. I sank into my chair, the weight of my quick judgment crushing me. Maria, Don't! She stood up, shoulders straight despite her tears. You want to know the worst part? I get it. I understand exactly why you jumped to that conclusion, because I destroyed your trust 3 years ago. And now, she laughed sadly, now I know how it feels to be betrayed by someone you thought you could trust. The irony wasn't lost on me. We'll press charges against Emery. That's not the point, Maria's voice cracked. The point is, I've spent weeks killing myself to prove I've changed, and you were just waiting for me to fail. You never intended to forgive me, did you? I couldn't meet her eyes. I thought, she took a shaky breath. I thought if I worked hard enough, proved myself enough, maybe we could be sisters again. But we can't, can we? Because you don't want redemption. You want revenge. That's not… It is. She gathered her things. And you got it. Congratulations, Samara. You've made me understand exactly how it felt to have someone you trust betray you. Lesson learned. She walked to the door, then turned back. I'll keep working, keep paying my debts. But not because you're forcing me. Because I actually want to be better. Maybe someday you'll want that too. After she left, Youssef stayed. Well, he said quietly. This is quite the role reversal. Shut up. No, I don't think I will. He sat down. You've spent months teaching Maria about accountability. Maybe it's time you practiced some yourself. I stared at the security footage still playing on his laptop. I really messed up, didn't I? Spectacularly. He stood up. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I watched through the glass as Maria returned to her desk, head high despite her red eyes. She pulled out her work, started typing, carrying on despite everything, just like I had 3 years ago. I don't know how to fix this, I admitted. Yes, you do. Yusef headed for the door. You just have to decide if your pride is worth more than your sister. I found Maria in the break room early the next morning, making coffee with the same careful attention she now gave everything. We need to talk, I said. About what? More accusations? She didn't look up from measuring coffee grounds. About how I've become exactly what I hated. I sat down at the small table. I've been so focused on teaching you lessons that I missed the biggest one of all. That got her attention. She turned, coffee forgotten, which is, that revenge doesn't heal anything. It just passes the pain around. I pushed a folder across the table. Here. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a new contract and a set of keys. What's this? A real job offer. Junior financial advisor. You've shown amazing progress with budgeting and financial planning. The position comes with a proper salary, benefits, and an apartment in a better neighborhood. I took a deep breath. No strings attached. I don't understand. I'm letting go of the control, Maria. You'll still need to pay back your debts, but how you do it is up to you. I'm choosing to trust you. She stared at the contract, then at me. Why now? Because yesterday I became what I accused you of being, someone who betrays trust. And it felt awful. I met her eyes. I've been so wrapped up in making you feel what I felt that I lost sight of who I am. And who is that? Someone who built this company to help people avoid financial disasters, not to punish them for past mistakes. I smiled sadly. Someone who used to know that family means second chances. Maria's hands trembled as she read the contract. This salary, I could pay everything back in 2 years instead of 3. If you choose to, it's your decision now. I stood up. Oh, and I'm pressing charges against Emery. Not because you want me to, but because it's the right thing to do. Samara? She looked up, eyes wet. I really am sorry. For everything. I know, and I'm sorry too, for letting hurt turn into cruelty. I headed for the door, then paused. The apartment has a spare room, in case you ever want to have your sister over for dinner. That evening, as I packed up my office, Maria knocked on my door. I signed the contract, she said. And I have something to show you. She handed me her phone. On the screen was a banking app showing regular transfers to a savings account labelled Wedding Fund Repayment. I've been putting aside extra money from those online surveys, she explained. It's not much yet, but Maria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She straightened her shoulders. Not because you're making me, but because it's right. I took something precious from you, and even if you never have another wedding, that money belongs to you. I felt tears prick my eyes. Have dinner with me tonight? We have a lot to talk about. Over pasta at my apartment, we talked about everything. The wedding that never was, the years of resentment, the fear and shame that drove us both to extremes. Whatever happened to Jake? Maria asked softly. He's married now. Has a kid. I twirled pasta on my fork. Turns out losing that wedding was gaining something too, the knowledge that he wasn't right for me. He never understood why family was so important. Even when family steals your wedding fund. Especially then? I reached across the table, taking her hand, because family is also who you call when you're in trouble, even knowing they might slam the door in your face. Or make you work in a corner desk doing data entry. We both laughed, and for the first time in years, it felt real. I have one condition for the new job, I said. You have to let me teach you everything I know about financial security, not as punishment, but because you're good at it. Really good. Deal. She squeezed my hand. But I have a condition too. You have to let me earn back your trust at my own pace. No more tests. Deal. As we cleared the dishes, Maria paused. Do you think we'll ever get back what we had? Before everything? No, I said honestly. But maybe we can build something better. Something based on who we are now, not who we were. I'd like that. Later, watching her leave for her last night in the old apartment, I realized something. Revenge might be sweet, but redemption, real, earned redemption, tastes a lot better. And sometimes the best revenge isn't making someone suffer for their mistakes. It's giving them the chance to fix them.